All right, welcome everybody to City of Grand Rapids Planning Commission meeting on May 8th, 2025. We are going to be doing some public hearings today, but I did want to give you a quick rundown of how this works. We start with a staff presentation, and then the applicant has an opportunity to come up and add additional details. We'll then open up the public hearing, and anyone from the public can speak. We'll ask you to come to the podium, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to address the commission. So no talking back to the applicant, no talking to each other. Please address your comments to us. We would politely ask that you refrain from cheering or booing when people give public comment. We want to make everyone feel comfortable to give their remarks. So that would be our guidance for the public hearing. After the public hearing, the applicant has an opportunity to come up and address anything that came up in public comments, and then the commission will deliberate and make a decision. We are being streamed live on Facebook, so I want to put that out there. And then staff does prepare some draft language for us to use if we choose to in our motions. So just be aware of that as well. And with that, I will ask if any commissioners have conflict of interest today. Okay, seeing none, we can move forward to our first case, which is 1050 Leonard. I did also want to say that prior to today's Planning Commission meeting, Planning Department staff was in communication with the applicant, Pastor George of Matthews House, and the Executive Director of the West Grand Neighborhood Association, Annette Vandenberg, and all are in agreement that the Planning Commission should hold today's hearings, hear the application and all the information, but hold off on making a decision on the request for approximately 90 days. During that time period, Matthews House will use the public comment that they hear today to refine their operational plan and good neighbor plan, test their proposed strategies, and continue community conversations. And then following that 90-day pause, the Planning Department will renotice the case, and there will be a second public hearing and the decision by Planning Commission then. So as chair, I support this path forward. I believe that it has the potential to yield the best outcome for the community. But with that, I will turn it over to Elizabeth.
The property under consideration is 1050 or 1054 Leonard Street Northwest. And what the Planning Commission is considering is the proposal for a social service facility at this location. Matthews House Ministry is the applicant, and they're currently operating out of two buildings located at the intersection of Alpine Avenue and 7th Street. They are proposing to move their operations to this larger facility, and the Community Support Center would provide meals, clothing, laundry, showers, transitional housing, case management, and emergency food for West Side residents. So, as you know, this is a special land use, and for special land uses, there are standards that the Planning Commission must consider in making a decision. So as you are considering this, please keep in mind the standards of consideration for a special land use. Those do include consistency with the master plan and the West Side area specific plan, as well as appropriateness with the neighborhood and impact on public services. So that's all part of the application, and you do have the standards there at your place. The subject property is about 9,700 square feet. It is primarily improved with the building and pavement. There is a parking lot to the east, which is not associated with this property, and that's really important to know. This site does have parking, however. There's about 26 spaces to the south in the residential neighborhood. So, but all the activities associated with the use are proposed within the building. The building is about 8,300 square feet in area, and it was constructed as a retail store. The main entrance is on Leonard, and there's a secondary entrance at the southwest corner of the building over here on the power side, and then there's a loading dock on the southeast side of the building. The property is located in a traditional business area, the Leonard Street commercial corridor. North and south of the commercial area, we have traditional neighborhood, low-density residential zoning, and medium-density housing use. This photo on the bottom is what the building looks like today. It has lots of storefront windows on either side. There are display windows. There are no windows on either of the sides. The applicant is proposing to replace the windows. It will look pretty much the same from the front. The windows would get a little bit smaller at the top, but the building would still meet the transparency requirements. It's not, you can't really see it here, but they are proposing some windows along this west side on Powers Avenue. I do want to note that the plan has been changed a little bit since that public meeting that a lot of folks might have gone to. So there are now some windows on the Powers side, and there would not be windows on the east side. And although we would love to see windows on the east side, windows cannot be added because the building's right at the lot line and it wouldn't meet building code. So windows are not possible on that east side, but they are on the west side. Relative to the floor plan, up at the front, there's offices proposed. There's a clothing and essentials display area. There's a social space and waiting area up at the front. So this is what would be visible through the front windows. There's a multi-purpose area at the center portion of the building. There's a kitchen and serving area. And there's some storage and back of house uses at the back of the building. And there are also showers and restrooms, as well as a laundry room. Relative to operations, services are generally going to be available from 8:30 a.m. to 4, although I understand workshops available to the larger community may be held later. The applicant has prepared a good neighbor plan, and I did include some information in the packet about that. That is something that we can require for certain uses. It is required of cannabis uses, and a good neighbor plan can be required for uses that have the potential for greater impacts on the community. We did ask the applicant to prepare a good neighbor plan, and I would say that we have it's a good plan. There's a couple of holes in it that we'd like additional information on. And I'll mention that as I go through that plan. That good neighbor plan also describes a lot of how the use will operate. They do plan to have a security professional present during operational hours. They will have a security camera. Visitors will be required to check in and out, and security patrols and staff presence will begin 30 minutes before opening and end 30 minutes after closing. That reminds me that I do want clarification from the applicant about how many staff is anticipated to be present at any time. I guess I would be thinking the minimum and the maximum number of staff and what their roles are. It may be included in the application, but it was not in a format that I could easily find. The applicant will also be conducting twice daily litter sweeps on the site and around the area. They'll be providing trash and recycling bins outdoors, and guests to the facility will be educated about litter expectations. The Matthews House Ministry will maintain a Good Neighbor hotline and email address for questions, feedback, and concerns, and contact information will be posted near the front door of the facility. The applicant has committed to remain engaged with the West Grand Neighborhood Organization as well. The Good Neighbor Plan indicates that a written traffic control plan will be developed, and in collaboration with the Grand Rapids Police Department and Mobile GR. And that's one of the elements that I'd really like more information on. I would like to know, really, why do we need such a plan? What is that for the food pantry pickup and drop off? So I'd like a little more information about that, because I'm not sure that we really want any kind of queuing, a vehicle queuing associated with this use. There will be a day and resource center, and a hot meal will be prepared and served daily. Shower and laundry services will be available, and a case manager will be on site during operational hours to provide assistance with housing referrals, job readiness support, access to health and mental care, substance abuse recovery and treatment programs, ID procurement, and assistance navigating public benefits. They also plan to hold regular workshops, life skills training, and group support sessions, and that will be offered to guests as well as members of the larger community. I do have some questions about how that day and resource center will operate, and that is use of both entrances. There's an entrance at the front on Leonard, and then at the back that faces Powers. And I do think it's important that we clarify how those entrances will be used, because that could help us understand whether there'll be congregation and where people might be congregating. So I'd like to have that established. Whether queuing is anticipated, and if so, how it will be managed, and the time the meal will be served, and the number of clients that will be anticipated on a daily basis. The use will include a clothing and essentials pantry. Used clothing, items of personal hygiene, and other items will be displayed in this retail storefront format at the front of the building. And one of the things that we really need to establish is what the system for donations will be. So I'd like that to be established. The applicant will also be providing an emergency food pantry that I understand is open to residents of the West Side. And I think we'll need a little more information about how food distribution operations will be conducted. And that's where that traffic control plan comes in. Relative to parking requirements, we don't have something specific for this use. It's most consistent to a community center, although we don't anticipate that all the clients will be driving. I did include parking calculations, and we do find that parking will be sufficient. The applicant also controls this parking lot to the south of the alley that has about 26 parking spaces in it. Lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about neighborhood input and neighborhood outreach. I believe you've seen in the packet there has been a significant amount of neighborhood input, and we've received input both in support and in opposition. And folks in opposition are citing, I'm summarizing, so I may not have included everything, but in general, folks mention the fact that the location is not in close proximity to other related services, including transportation hubs, shelters, health clinics, and hospitals. And I do want to clarify that, this is a day center. It is not a shelter. No overnight accommodation is being requested here. They also point out the incompatibility of the use with the after-school program at the library across the street. Folks have public safety concerns, including the potential of increased calls for police services for crime, panhandling, theft, trash, violence, loitering, drug activity, intoxication, trespassing, and disorderly conduct. Folks have cited the potential negative impact on existing businesses, community growth, and new business investment. Folks have also mentioned the recurring issues at the current location of Matthews House Ministry, where we have seen many calls for service for some of the things that I just mentioned above. And folks are also concerned about activity that may spill over from the site after the facility closes. We also received a number of letters of support for the use. Folks have mentioned that the location is more accessible than the current location. It's on a bus line. It can connect with the church across the street, and is not near a school. Folks have also pointed out that the current location is constrained by its small space. It's about 1,300 square feet, and the new larger location will address many of the issues that are associated with the current location. The Good Neighbor Plan ensures open communication and clear expectations. Many West Side residents have benefited from these services of Matthews House. Some folks have had a good experience with Matthews House in their current location. Some folks have mentioned that the concerns that are being raised are issues in the community already and not specific to Matthews House. Folks have mentioned that there is an urgent need for the services that Matthews House provides. And they also mention that providing support for unhoused individuals may benefit existing businesses in the neighborhood. Folks have also found it appropriate for this use to be in a business district rather than in a residential neighborhood. Relative to outreach, the applicant, The applicant did hold a meeting on March 11th. They sent out invitations to property owners and occupants within 500 feet of the property. I don't really know how many folks attended that meeting. Perhaps the applicant could address that. But they did hold that meeting. And subsequently, the West Grand Neighborhood Organization held a separate meeting on Monday, May 28th, dedicated to this proposed use in this building. There was an excellent turnout to that meeting, and I'm sure that the applicant and/or the West Grand Neighborhood Association organization will be able to provide additional detail on that. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant unless the Planning Commission has any questions for me.
Great, thanks, Elizabeth. Any questions for Elizabeth at this point? Okay, great. Thank you, Elizabeth. We will invite the applicant up to share any additional details with us.
Yep. You know what? I'm going to have you go use these arrows,
Okay.
and if you get stuck, I can just,
Okay.
I can use this one for you.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here to present Matthews House. My name is Pastor George Workema. I'm the Executive Director and founder of Matthews House. We have been at our present location for 18 years, and we've been, I'm assuming, a blessing to many in the neighborhood. We're requesting this special land use approval for our Date Center Resource Center, moving just under a mile from our present location. So it's not like we're coming from a completely different, we're familiar with the neighborhood, we've been there. And it's under a mile within the Stocking neighborhood, so we're still in our same neighborhood. Our mission is support housing stability, reduce food insecurities, provide hygiene services, and offer life skill training, all to build a resilient, empowered West Side community. That's what our goal and aim is. Our daily operations are from 8 to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. We take Saturdays and Sundays and usually just recoup days, but we need that also. We offer case management. We have ID replacement. We have the Secretary of State that comes with our mobile unit about every 3 months, and they come down and they're able to help people get their IDs. We also have help applicants get some essential services that are needed, whether it be through the Department of Human Services, whether it be through Social Security, just giving them direction that they need to be able to get. If you've ever seen applications, a lot of they don't understand it, so we're able to sit down with them and help them through these processes. We also have job assistance. We work closely with places that will hire felons and work to give assistance to be able to help people get employed and get them back on their feet again. We also have different job assistance, housing support. We have, along with our basic needs, showers, and we only have one now in our present location, and it's used probably 15 to 20 times a day. And so this new establishment would allow us to have 2 showers and to be able to help a lot more individuals with their hygiene. We also have laundry facilities. We have machines, and we charge 75 cents for them to use it, and if they don't have it, we find some little community service projects for them to do. Life isn't free all the time, so if it just teaches responsibility. We also have a food pantry with food, hygiene supplies, and household items. These are all free to the community to come in and use, and we encourage them. And so it's not just homeless that are using this, it's families that are struggling, especially now with the rising rent costs that affect families drastically. The daily services meet our neighbors where they are. So that's kind of the aim of what we're doing. We primarily serve low-income residents in the Stocking and West Side neighborhood. Nearly 30% of those of the area is a low-income population of the area that we work with and participate in. This includes families, single parents, returning citizens, individuals in recovery, and those who are unhoused. We also plan future youth programs to support early intervention and enrichment. We've been a block away from Stocking School for 16 years. We've had no issues with Stocking School and all that time of being there, of just working with them and having the kids come after school and participate in programs that we've had set up. So this is something I want you to understand too. Case management. I'm probably not moving on my sparks here. I'm probably should be moving to one of these. Let's see, case management. Counseling. Our team provides private one-on-one support. We are in the process, if we have approval, to have offices right there where right now we don't have capabilities of having that personal time because we don't have the room to have any more space. So when they come, they're quite often right in the middle of a group, and it's not really a good, safe spot to be doing counseling. The case management helps to give the direction that they needed. Appointments cover housing, mental health benefits, employment tailored to each individual. So these are just some of the things that we use and operate and try to incorporate in a lot of what we're doing. We maintain full-time visible staff presence and collaborate with schools and health providers. We have nursing students that come in from Calvin University. We have students from Grand Valley. We have Grand Rapids Community College students that come in. So this is exposure for them to have working with a clientele base. Some of them are in the social work programs, and so it's very beneficial for them also and for the community. Sometimes we have them come in and they have a lot of sugar problems, and so they can get some medical assistance before it can be terminal. Food pantry operations. Our pantry is open Monday and Friday from 2 to 3 with daily distributions. We get a lot of food donated from our other clients that we deal with, stores. We pick up a van load every day, and we just are allowing the community to come and share in that freed food, and it just helps families have a healthy diet because we get a lot of stuff. It's close to expiration, but it can be very beneficial for a family that's struggling. The pantry is something that is used very frequently now, and we try to keep it stocked as best we can. We operate indoors walk-up model. This is what this new building would allow us. Right now, it's all outside, and we have long lines of people waiting. We get stuff from places like Canteen, and those sandwiches are able to be taken to a lot of their camps and things, but it's also helpful for a family. So we also operate we don't have a lot of car traffic just because most of our clientele walk, but we do have a lot of volunteers that come and participate with us, and we appreciate we couldn't operate without volunteers helping. We also have, when we get the food, there's a lot of cardboard. So we recycle that. At our present location, we can't even have the cardboard dumpster on our property. So once a day, we load all our cardboard up and we transport it to Richmond Reformed Church parking lot where we can put the dumpster. So having this new location would allow us to have a lot of these services that are right there, and we're able to keep the place tidier, because when you stack up some cardboard, it starts to get messy, so then but we do haul it away daily. Youth program. In the past, we've had, when Stocking was there, we had grants from the Grand Rapids Foundation to be able to do after-school activities, even in the summer months, to be creative in some of the things that we are excited to resume these programs, because they bring a vibrant part of educating kids, giving stability, showing them, giving them something good to do, rather than being destructive out in the community because they don't have any activities to do. So this building would allow us to do these things. We can't do it real efficiently where we are at right at the present. We've done it, but it's a challenge. We'll work with the local schools and organizations with new staff members and volunteers. Background checks will be done. You can't have programs run without doing background checks today, and we definitely do even now do background checks on individuals that come and want to help and volunteer. Why the Leonard and Powers location? This location is ideal. It's on the transportation line routes, and it is mixed-use zone. It's buffered by commercial use. It has lower violent crime rates than our current area and is walkable, making services more accessible to our neighbors. Should probably go to that. Oops. What's that? Youth programs, okay. I brought Steve Fritzma from Elevate Studios, and he's the one that'll give a little presentation on the concept, the exterior layout, if you have questions on that, Steve.
Steve Fritzma with Elevate Studio, architect. And I won't rehash, Elizabeth did a great job summarizing the design of the building. Just a few things we want to highlight is that facilitating the movement of donations, there is a existing cargo elevator inside the building, and a lot of storage and a lot of processing of donations. I know George's wife has a group of people who sew and repair donated clothing to make them ready for new users. And that would all happen through those kind of back of house rooms, and then also go downstairs. The building will be fully sprinklered because we're going through a change of use. And right now, the building is painted brick on the north and kind of has a cementitious coating on the existing concrete block on the west, south, and east. We're planning on exposing that brick along the north side facing Leonard in the area of the storefront glass. So bringing that building back to life a little bit. Right now, it just looks like a birthday cake. And we're going to expose some of the existing bones of the building, and the bones of the building are really good. In terms of the transparency, currently the building along the public sides of the building, it's only 17% transparent, and with the new arrangement, it'll be 50% transparent. And then, no pun intended, full transparency, we do have two questions into Elizabeth about the site plan. One of them is it's very tricky to locate a dumpster enclosure on this site. Right now, the trash truck comes in through the parking lot on the east, which is not part of the Matthews House site. And then it's also very tricky to locate barrier-free parking because the parking lot to the south, the site slopes, and you're going up 5 risers to get into the building from the south. So we want to work with the planning department on how to address those if we have to.
Yeah, I was just going to pull up the site plan
Okay,
for
great.
you if you needed it. But
Yeah, I didn't know how to get there.
nope, I understand.
Yeah.
There you go.
So one idea is that the sidewalk here is extra wide. You can see where it tapers down to its natural width. we might be able to make some parallel spaces with loading zones for barrier-free parking closer to the no-step entry, which is on the north. And so we have a question in to Elizabeth for that. And then we have overhead power lines along the alley and diagonally from the power pole here to the building, making it very difficult to locate a dumpster that would be emptied by an overhead truck. So we asked for some assistance with Elizabeth on locating the dumpster enclosure. Other than that, I think Elizabeth's description fills in all the rest of the gaps.
Thank you, Steve. Best practices, peer review evidence, national research backs our model. Centers that integrate services improve outcome and reduce emergency room use. Low barriers access increases participation in mixed-use zoning, improves safety. This is from Eyes on the Street. So there are studies that have been done, and it doesn't affect neighborhoods when you bring this kind of services to the area. It dispels, there's some of our building. Okay, yep, okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. Dispels myths. Let's address some myths. Service centers don't increase crime. Studies show the opposite. Property values aren't hurt by proximity. I don't know, my property taxes keep going up, so I don't think it affects neighborhoods at all because it seems to be. Homelessness is not a choice. It's often caused by systemic barriers and housing costs, which I would agree strongly with. Crime realities and, let's see, crime exists in every neighborhood. I don't care where you live, there's crime happens. It's sometimes, if it's like in East Grand Rapids, they can find ways to address it without. But crime is in every neighborhood. Affluent areas often handle things privately, so reports are lower. In stalking, we actively report and partner with the police, and we have been working with them very closely on ways to address some of the issues we've had in the past. Unhoused individuals are more often victims than perpetrators. Previous successes for Matthew's House, Mike W. came into us, a young man, he had autism, ran away from home, very dysfunctional home, a father that basically abused him, and we were able to help Mike. First of all, he didn't want anybody to know who he was, so for about a year, we had no idea where he was from, where he was, until we hired a private investigator who found out that he was a missing report from up north. And when we got him stabilized in our home, he was able to start a small business and doing yard work and just succeeded immensely to become a very productive part. But it was taking the time to invest in him and to make him a success story. We also have another individual by the name of Jesse. Jesse came to us. He had been a vet from the war in the Middle East and had PTSD really bad and a lot of problems with alcohol. But through working with him and being creative and working to create in him a structure, he was able to be an overcomer of a lot of these things, gone to college and got a degree and becoming very successful. I do believe the last time I heard from him, he was in the Lansing area doing very well and being able to be a success to the state of Michigan. Another one is Peter. Peter came to us also having a lot of drug issues in the past. We worked with Pete he had both him and his wife had lost custody of their children. And so it went to grandmother, and she lived up in Kalkaska. So every Friday I was taking Pete up to Kalkaska to visit his kids. In the meantime, he built a strong relationship. This was for a year. And then he ended up getting the kids back, and now he's down in Ohio. He called me the other day and said he has stage 3 lung cancer, but he's got a daughter that's just graduating, another one's in college, and so he's got a son they're stable, they're successes. And this is what we do. We have transitional housing. This isn't a part of what is proposed here, but with that transitional housing, it gives the stability to the individuals. So those pieces all work together in this ministry to be able to make this a very productive part of the city of Grand Rapids, the west side of Grand Rapids, to make it an area where families feel comfortable. Community engagement. We've conducted this study on March 10th, and we had about 25 from the community. That's the one we sent out flyers for, 500 foot around, and we had input, and we took the input that was given us, and we are making adjustments to that, and then taking what they have said and trying to apply it and be a good neighbor. And that's what a lot of what is in that good neighbor plan has been a part of what we're trying to do even now to correct some of the wrongs that we've had in the past. And we're all humans, so we make mistakes along the way, but we're learning, and we're trying to be very transparent about how we go about this. We had a meeting with the West Grand Neighborhood Association. I think there was close to 176 people there for that. We had input there also, and again, that's all been compiled into the Good Neighbor Plan to make it something constructive and productive, something that we can work with, and then they can hold us accountable, and we can work through even with the police department and all the avenues to be able to make this a good, productive neighborhood that is a success. We've also built partnerships with businesses and churches and enhanced wraparound support. On Sundays, we work very closely with Richmond Reformed Church about a mile down the road, and we've got a thriving congregation of individuals that probably wouldn't be welcome in a lot of places, but we welcome them in and that's even where we come up with the name Matthew's House. It's out of Matthew 9:10, when Jesus went to Matthew's house and he ate with the tax collectors and sinners. And so that's where a lot of our spiritual emphasis comes from, and we think that's the way we need to work with this new neighborhood too. The Good Neighbor Plan, we've committed to the daily site maintenance, as Elizabeth already said. Territorial enhancement like landscaping and art. We'll probably try and do something on the side of the building to dress it up. Not sure what it'll look. There might even be an art prize entry. I'm not sure what will come out of that. Controlled access visitors. There will be registration of the individuals and volunteers that come in so we can have control. The back of the building will not be accessible just to the community. That would be more of the volunteer entrance. The front entrance is where we would have the client come in, and then they'd have to sign in and have, if they have ID, to be able to have that on record too. So if there is situations, we have some information on the individual. Community feedback systems. We have the website and also a phone during business hours that if there are issues, let's find ways. We're not beyond working with the individuals in the community to try and address. There are problems. I'm not just going to ignore it. We're going to try and work through them together. Strong accountability and public reporting. This is just being very transparent in the way we operate and the things we do. This plan will be tied to the special land use approval conditions. In conclusion, I'd like to, the Leonard and Powers location is the right fit. It's based on zoning, crime data, walkability, and planning alignment. It meets the goals of the city master plan, especially around equity and housing stability. We respectfully request your support for special land use approval. Thank you to this planning commission. And I guess I'd open it to questions if you have some of me.
Wonderful, thank you. Does anyone have questions right away for the applicant?
I wonder how many people you serve in a given day or week?
In a given day, we can serve, like during our lunch hour, sometimes it's 80 to 100 people a day. Yeah, and that's a lot of why we're in the situations we're in. We're not able to have everybody inside. So then you see the loitering around the outside. You can't fit them in. So we're just out of space.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Pastor, does Matthew's house receive donated items from the public? I'm thinking of like clothing or.
Oh, very much so. Lots of it. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Secondly, are any of those donations provided after hours? In
We
some
try.
type
We
of
have signs
container or like any type of container, receptacle, anything like that?
We have specific signs saying not to after hours, but you go there every morning, there's stuff sitting there. So we try. We think by putting the fencing around the dumpster and stuff, it will deter some of that. But we don't know for sure until we implement it and then start to find creative ways to do that. But I've already caught individuals dumping there and had them pick their stuff up and say that this isn't appropriate. We don't need your stuff like this. So, and a lot of times they don't want to pay the fee that it gets rid of it at pitch wrecking or whatever, so they want to dump the stuff at. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Others?
So, could you speak a little bit about, I mean, I know you said that some of the Good Neighbor Plan was written based on community comments and the public, or in meeting with the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Are any of those things currently implemented? Or are those all new? I'm just curious about, some of it's West Grant's request for it to be postponed for 90 days so that there's time to implement those things. And so I'm just wondering how many.
We're working on all of them right now, trying to be the good neighbor even where we're at.
Sure, but have you been, I mean, are all the, I guess my point is, are all those new in the last, let's say, few weeks or couple of months while you've been working through this process?
We've been working with the Grand Rapids Police Department also prior to this because we're trying to bring the numbers of the calls down and things. So, yes, that is definitely, we have been working on it for months now to try and, it's just taking shrubbery down so it's visibility of things like that so that it eliminates a lot of the crime activities.
Okay, thank you.
How many staff are present at any time, and how big are your volunteer groups regularly?
The volunteer groups are probably, in a day, we probably have anywhere from 6 to 8 volunteers around, and we about that a number of staff also.
Okay. And what are the roles of staff? You have your case manager, you?
Myself, and then we have a person that runs our food pantry, which is a volunteer. And we also have individuals that run on staff that are sorting the clothes and organizing, getting everything put away. We also have house managers that live right in our homes. So they're both a men's house, a women's house, and a woman with up to 2 children house. So they are staffed at those houses also.
Okay. And then, so in your Good Neighbor Plan, an application talks about developing a traffic control plan. So under what circumstances would traffic control be needed?
It's probably when we give the food away quite often, it can be at our present location, when we would pass it out, we did it in the front of the building, and then it caused all kinds of congestion, so then they suggested to the back, but we still run into people just parking in the middle of the alley and just getting there. So this new facility would allow us to have parking and then have them come in through the building to be able to get the food and then go back to their cars versus just stopping in and getting what they want, so.
And so I guess that takes us to the next question related to entrances. Are they going to be using both entrances, or are folks primarily using one or the other?
They would, the front entrance would be the major one. During like a food giveaway, it would probably have but the back one would be monitored by staff to be able to regulate who comes in and out. If you're going out, then you're out. So you got to come in through the front entrance where we can monitor things.
Okay.
Plus, it'll have cameras all around the outside of the building too.
And with the bigger space, do you anticipate queuing of folks as they're waiting to come in, whether for meal or?
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking at
Like you said, in your current location, you have people waiting outside. And so with this move, what would be kind of the management of that?
Well, it would be all inside, so we could monitor what the activities that are going on, the waiting, whether we give them a number, you come in and you want to, it isn't just a big line going down the side of the sidewalk. They would be all inside the building, regulated. We can monitor what's going on there.
Okay.
Does that explain it?
Yeah, I think so. All right, any other questions now? Okay, thank you. We'll have you take a seat. Okay, I will now open up the public hearing. If you're here to speak on this case, feel free to come up. And if y'all want a queue to wait in line, so we're not waiting for folks getting up and sitting down in between, that could help make things move efficiently. And again, direct your comments to commission, not to the applicant, not to each other, and no booing or clapping, please. Okay, go ahead.
How you doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones, and I gotta say, I don't care if you boo or clap to anything. I gotta say, I honestly don't care. But D. Jones, very spiritual being. I'm not religious at all. I believe we coexist. I believe love needs to be taught better than religion of anything. We need love all across humanity, all across the United States, all across the United Nations. Donald Trump needs to learn love. But I need to speak on this Matthew House thing. So I am on the board of the West Grand Neighborhood Organization. I do hold people accountable. I did vote no on this project first, not because I don't like the things that Matthew House does. I love that they provide services to people that are in need, especially in uncertainty times, political uncertainty times. Our President of the United States cutting funding from a lot of different things. They provide vital service as I walk, as I ride my bike, as I foot it around the hood, the neighborhood, as I be in the trenches. I see unhoused people. I see unhoused people on Franklin and Eastern, F&E. I see everybody, I see a lot of poverty, and I love that Matthews House does provide services. They provide in-day services. They do not provide overnight services. I also have to say that there are a couple people that are harassing the good women, beautiful spirited women on the West Grand Neighborhood Organization board. They've been faxing and sending letters, and they've been having semi-trucks with posters speaking out bad about Matthews House. Now, I'm going to speak very boldly because those people don't want to come to this young African-American man who's fiercely passionate and very, very strong, that's going to hold billionaires and everybody accountable, as I've already boldly done that in the public's eye. I love the things that Matthews House will do for our community because I stay on Tamarack. I stay right around the corner. I know people that live in poverty. I grew up on Social Security, so I know the real struggle. I know real poverty. Nobody can tell me poverty worse than anything because I've been through it. I've seen it. I've lived it firsthand. My house, I've been evicted. My house been raided by police officers. I've been kicked out of my house. And I don't want to tell you how fierce my mom and how she was on me when we lost our house and her kids had to get kicked out. And I know it's people that have been through worse things than that. But I promise you, do not want to feel the pain of that. I don't look like the things I've been through. The people that go through Matthew's house do not look like the things that they've been through. So I just want to say that I love the things that they've been through. I support this. I'm going to continuously stand up and boldly speak out about those, the racism of these white people that keep sending us letters and everything. So don't care about the unhoused population. This is the second worst city for economic development in African American. There are also poor, white, struggling communities because Donald Trump is cutting funding all across the United States. So I just want to boldly say that I support Matthew's House. I love the things that Matthew's House doing. I want them to get us all the funding that they can and all the services. They're also, Donald Trump is cutting funding from food pantries. It's people that they don't even get the food that they can to give the underserved communities that can't afford this. So thank you. I don't care what you guys have to say about this, and I'm going to hold you guys to this 90-day rubric. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellen, and I actually wanted to lend a voice from a neighbor who's currently located to the current location of Matthew's house. I live on 6th Street. I am 1 block down, and I am 1 block over. I moved into the area in October 2023. And I just wanted to say to anyone near the new location who may be concerned, to reassure you that I honestly not have had one single problem with the people Matthew House feeds and supports. My daily experience is as follows. A little bit before lunchtime, I will have people walking up the street towards Matthew's house, and then a little later, they walk back and off to where they are currently sheltering. These people come for food and assistance, and they don't linger. They don't trash my neighborhood, and they haven't made me feel unsafe. This trend has not changed in the 1.5 years that I've lived as a close neighbor of Matthew's house. These people are just trying to survive, and Matthew's house gives them a lifeline. I understand that some neighbors near the new site are concerned, but we have to be honest in what those concerns are rooted in. Being poor or unhoused doesn't make someone dangerous, it makes them vulnerable. This relocation won't solve homelessness, but the work that Matthew's House does every single day is part of the solution. It's often the first step that helps people stabilize, find resources, and begin the long journey off the streets. And if we want to see fewer people experience homelessness in our city, we need to support the places doing the hard hands-on work. Turning our backs or pushing them out of sight isn't a solution, it's just avoidance, and this move is a chance to do better. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Nikita Jaber, and I own a business on the west side, and I'm coming here today to voice my support for the approval of the special land use permit. People frame homelessness as if Pastor George came there and then suddenly homeless people appeared. I think that's a joke. He's only there because there's a need for them. And, he said 18 years. I was hoping he was going to come up here and say after 18 years we're ready to close down because there's nobody who needs our services. But it sounds like he needs 8 times more services. Any opposition to this is, like the young lady said before me, rooted in something that's not really representative of the needs of the people that live there. And so that's it. I don't have any notes, so that's as far as I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'm probably not as eloquent as the rest of the people. I'm Bruce DeWitt. I own Rosemont Nursery. I'm a landscaper, and I've known Pastor George for many, many years. We get involved with, if he needs some shrubs or some mulch or some gravel for different projects he's got going on, we're normally the phone call. Sometimes I dread it, but we normally try to take care of that. But what also happens is every now and then, George has somebody who calls up and says, hey, I got somebody who's interested in landscaping. Do you got space? And we have done that over the years. Now, I can tell you we've had some fantastic success, and I'll tell you not so much. But these people want to try, and I like to always give them a try if we can. The best story that I have to tell you guys is there was a guy who actually lived on the side of the trail and tracks on Ann Street, and all you guys knew that encampment. And Pastor George called me up and he says, Bruce, I think this is one that you might want to try. The guy has worked for me for 12 years. For 12 years. Over those 12 years, he got some legs underneath him, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, after 12 years, he bought 2.5 acres up in Newaygo, has a double wide on it, gardens, and is taking care of himself. But these are the stories that is the reason why I keep on getting or asking for people from Matthew's house. The tragedy is I only can have so many people. I understand they have somebody right now who's looking for a job, and we'll see if we can fit them in, but that's how it goes. But they're doing what needs to be done. I actually went with Pastor George to the Rapid years ago just because I see help wanted signs all over on 3 Mile, because that's where I live, way up by 3 Mile. And over the years, we finally got a bus route that goes down 3 Mile that services people from Matthew's house to get them the jobs that they need. We can help these people. It don't take much. I think it's in a prime location where it is. And I think they need this building. And for goodness sakes, if people are willing to donate to help this place out, we ought to be giving a space so they can.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Joey Hidalgo. I've resided in Grand Rapids my entire life in the 49505, 03, 07, and most recently the 04 area codes. As a citizen of Grand Rapids, I'm here to advocate for the approval of Matthew's House request to establish their Community Resource Center and Day Center. The primary opposition to this plan is from a man named Houston Moyer, who has publicly expressed his dissent. He has even erected a garish sign on the side of a box truck and has parked it up and down Leonard Street and created a website with incredibly petulant messaging and complaints. Mr. Moyer's objections lack merit. His website lists numerous issues with Matthew's House relocating to 1050 Leonard, including its proximity to resident housing. Its purported motivations for community benefit and crime in its current location. In the FAQ section of his website, Mr. Moyer states that the new proposed location of 1050 Leonard would be unsuitable for Matthew's House due to its proximity to residential housing. I would like to point out, as the applicant already has, that this current location is in the heart of a residential neighborhood within a mixed-use retail residential building. This new location is indeed larger and further distance from private residences. If Mr. Moyer is genuinely concerned with the proximity to a residential neighborhood, he should advocate for the new property rather than oppose it. In response to Mr. Moyer's assertion that Matthew's House is a ministry primarily focused on being self-serving, it's essential to refute this claim as well. In 2023, Matthew's House erected a new micro house program that was received quite well by the community and even endorsed by former police Grand Rapids Police Sergeant John Witowski for being innovative and having stated that the model should be replicated. Matthew's House has a long-standing commitment to selflessly serving the community for over 17 years, over 18 years. These objectives do not align with individuals who are inherently self-serving. A more accurate portrayal of such individuals would be property owners engaging in public campaigns to discredit homeless outreach due to concerns about potential declines in property values. Given 2 years, given the past couple of years, Mr. Moyer has owned a property adjacent to the proposed location. He has not done anything with that property in those years, and I find his statements to be disingenuous and not serving the greater community.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is A.M. Hutchings. This is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I felt especially urged to speak today because my partner and I moved to the 4th and Stocking neighborhood about a year ago, and my friend lives right down the street from Matthew's house, so I pass by there really frequently, and I have never had any issues with any of their services that they provide or the people who are utilizing those services, and I think that the opposition to this move would be gatekeeping a valuable resource to a very vulnerable community. So I don't think it make sense to withhold something that could be helping more and more people, like the pastor has mentioned with some of his testimonials. So I feel that this would be a great opportunity for a lot of more folks to get a lot more help in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa, a Powers Avenue resident, and I'm speaking in opposition to the special land use request that undermines the master plan for a walkable and vibrant West Leonard Neighborhood Center. We had envisioned, and we're excited for local market or a coffee shop or even a daycare at this corner. Businesses that serve residents and reflect the major investments that are just east on Leonard. Instead, we're facing an SLU application of Matthews House, a tenant with a record of poor property management and ongoing safety issues. This is not about the admirable mission, and it is about they have an admirable mission, but it's also about the compatibility with the new location. Their application paints an overly optimistic picture, ignoring the real problems current neighbors have faced. My husband and I used to walk past their current site multiple times a week until frequent harassment by individuals and large amounts of trash made us feel unsafe. Outside their facility, there are no restrooms, no shelter, and no support services after hours. The burden shifts to the neighborhood, and with no support, the area becomes unwalkable. Their good neighbor plan has improved, but it still fails to address the impact on the surrounding businesses and homes, instead focusing on their property only. There is vague mention of a partnership for monthly neighborhood cleanups, but it lacks accountability and enforcement. At their current location, the litter includes discarded food, soiled clothing, and used needles for blocks. Sanitary issues our neighborhood would be left to handle. Beyond this, it flatly ignores all the concerns we raised about increased crime, reasonable concerns based on the 300-plus calls a year that Matthews House gets. Aside from the obvious safety impact, consider Powers Avenue, a quiet and very narrow residential street and the most direct route for emergency vehicles to take from Walker Avenue to get to the new location. This increased traffic and noise and fast-moving emergency vehicles would immediately degrade the quality of life. Also, other items are not addressing potential increase of encampments in adjoining alleyways in nearby lots, sanitation and trespassing issues for the residential homes that are next door, and the risk of confrontations affecting both residents and those being served. There's just no trust based on their past performance. So, I do want to end quickly on a positive note. This past week, the owners at Lewandowski's Market, they bought their new building, or the building they're in, and they're planning for a future expansion. This is at Powers and Walker Ave. And they are great neighbors. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't even shop there, but I was happy when they said that they were going to expand. I trust that the changes that they're going to make will support the neighborhood because they've earned the trust. They're proof that if you do it right, you don't even have to say it. So I don't even need to read a GNP from them because they've proved that they do what good neighbors do. So I'm asking you in the future to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members and neighbors. My name is Mindy Ketchel, and I'm the operations manager of Helping Hands Mission Store located at 1008 Leonard Street Northwest. Our thrift store has been serving this neighborhood for nearly 10 years, not just with affordable clothing and items, but with care, connection, and community support. I'm speaking today to express my full support for Matthews House Ministries relocating to 1050 Leonard Northwest. The 1050 Leonard location has only been vacant a few months, so this move would bring vital activity and services like food, clothing, and emotional support right where they're needed most. Sadly, the move is facing organized opposition from the property owner who does not live in our city, but who owns the empty building between my store and 1050 Leonard. That building has been sitting vacant for years. I've had conversations with the owner where he told me directly he has no plans to fix it or rent it. Now, after all this time, he's suddenly campaigning against Matthews House, spending loads of his own money on banners, flyers, and a biased website to block this permit. But what our neighborhood needs isn't more empty space waiting for gentrification. It's more help that the community needs now. A while back, a couple blocks from us, someone died in an overdose in a fast food bathroom. Could they have been saved if Matthews House was already there? We will never know. But I believe services like theirs do save lives, and we need more of them, not fewer. How about the young gentleman having a rough mental health day outside of the West Leonard Library this past Tuesday? A welfare call was made, but no support was offered to this individual. Again, if Matthews House offered services in our area, this young man could have access to the resources that he needs right now. Studies show that communities with better access to support services experience less crime and more stability. But even beyond the data, as someone who's here every day, and as I have illustrated, this ministry would be a gift to Leonard Street, not a threat. We at Helping Hands support this transition, and many of our neighbors do too. I urge the board to listen to those of us who live and work there every day and approve the special use permit for Matthews House. Let us grow our community together by filling up empty buildings to build a thriving community on the West Leonard Street corridor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Van Acker. I'm 52 years old, and I grew up 3 blocks north of the proposed location. I currently live 2.5 blocks south of the proposed location. I'm a half mile from the current location. And I've pretty much been going up and down Stocking and Bridge and all through there my whole life. And now the proposed location is the furthest north street before it's all residential. And you got cemeteries and a park 3 blocks away to the west and to the north. And it's an urban residential neighborhood. Where they're at currently is further into the business district. And it's we'll just talk about what they have there currently is they provide a lot of good services to the homeless. And that's something to be greatly thankful for. It's a wonderful thing that they do. But those homeless people don't move far from this location because they're coming back there every day. And no, they don't serve them and give them a place to stay at night. They go find their own place to stay at night, which happens to be in the doorsteps of these businesses, around the church that I go to nearby. We find syringes. We have to wear protective equipment just to do our gardening there. Going up and down Stocking, up until 15 years ago, approximately, it wasn't like it is now. You didn't have people sleeping in business doorways. You didn't have girls propositioning guys for sex. Homeless addicts who, each one of them that I recall was white, by the way. It's not a racial thing. Homelessness is not a racism thing. People who are homeless are homeless for reasons. And you go up and down Stocking Business District, you talk to the businesses there, they're constantly chasing beggars and panhandlers out from the front of their businesses constantly. The Holiday Bar, the Family Pantry, the Monarch, Salvatore's. It's a nonstop thing. And if you go and through that intersection, there's a little island there where there's usually 2 or 3 of them constantly panhandling the cars that are going by. Matthews House is 2 blocks away. This wasn't there before Matthews House moved to where they are now. And I'm going to say, we can deal with it there. It's there now. We can deal with it. But now you're trying to move it into a residential neighborhood, which has always been a starter neighborhood for young couples starting to have families, little kids walking around, playing, going to see their friends. They're not going to be able to do that now because they're going to have to. You don't see many kids down near Stocking School without parental supervision.
Thank you.
Now you go back. You go to this neighborhood where we live now. Now we're going to be potentially.
Sir, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Anthony DiBartolo. I own 1134, 1136 Leonard Street Northwest. It's a big white building. I referred to it just west of McDonald's. I'm here in opposition. Us in opposition are not an angry people. We see the need. There is a need, and they do good things, and we recognize that. But to put that there, I'm a real estate broker for people don't recognize my name, and I'm familiar with what goes on And to put that there, I feel would be a real burden on the community, because the community is struggling. It's struggling to survive. I know I've had spaces there, tried to lease or try to rent, and I've have great difficulty. And yesterday I spoke to my tenants about this, and they're not excited at all. They aren't much more prosperous than a lot of the people that live in the Matthews House or get support from Matthews House. But they are in no way, shape, or form are they welcoming and excited about the presence of this thing coming into the community. And strictly from an economic perspective, placing Matthews House in this area, I feel is going to have a negative impact on the real estate. It's going to lower the tax base and consequently lower the revenue that's generated to the city of Grand Rapids. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I brought handouts, but I only have 8. One short. Just a little shorter. I'm Kathleen O'Median Ladwig, longtime resident of the West Side, grew up on the West Side, went to the new Union, so I'm kind of proud of that, now that it's the old Union. I'm here with a bunch of tax-paying business owners that are all up and down Leonard Street. We are opposed to the relocation of Matthews House, no matter all the great stuff it does, which we all acknowledge. I'm the mother of 6. My oldest son is a police detective. We get it. But having said that, first of all, this is against it's against the master plan. It just doesn't fit with what, we've all invested on this street, and it doesn't fit with what we thought it was going to be. This would not generate any property tax, as it's a nonprofit. Traffic on Leonard Street is now really bad. I mean, it can get crazy down there at certain times of the day. This would majorly add to that with loitering as well. Once the word is out about their much larger location, we're afraid it's going to draw people, even more people from further locations, because obviously this is a needed thing. I have given you hundreds of police reports that they have from the current location, from everything from assaults to prostitution to every other type of illegal activity that you now are looking at. Now we're going to go from 1,600 to 8,700 square feet. Right now, there's 650 times more crime coming from that area than the entire per capita of the West Side. On top of all these issues, why would we want to add this type of a helpful house in an area where there's bars and marijuana stores? I mean, this is just an extra draw to people that are already struggling. If the situation were reversed in time and Matthews House was at the 1050 location and people wanted to relocate maybe a cannabis shop or a pub, would the Cannabis Regulatory Agency or the Liquor Control Commission, whom I've dealt with for years in my previous life, would they say you're too close? And if they would say you're too close, which they probably would, because I know you're restricted how close you can be to a church or whatever because of the influence, then they would say, no, you can't have a bar that close or a cannabis shop. So I think that tells us a lot. I thought that's why we had a master plan. But I just want to thank you all. We're questioning why they need another 90 days to prove what good neighbors they are. We know they're doing their best. We can see that. These are wonderful people. But when you say to me, I need 90 days to prove to you how great I can be, I say, let's make a decision. The proof is in the pudding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Houston Moyer. I'm a resident of the city of Grand Rapids and a property owner directly to the east of their proposed site. I just wanted to echo that I don't feel that it fits into the zoning plan, the master plan, the spirit and intent of the Leonard Street business area, and I had provided a letter to the commission detailing those points of review standards that I don't think that the applicant has met and proven fits into our zoning. And then the other, quick point is that there's been very little communication from the applicant to myself and to the other businesses on the street so that we could try to work collaboratively and understand, and there's just been no communication outside of what they've publicly shared. And so that is also a frustrating point to hear when they say, we have a good neighbor plan, we're going to work with the neighborhood, and then they haven't proven that to myself and the other businesses around them. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm John Delger, the pastor of Richmond Reformed Church, and I have the distinct pleasure and privilege of serving a congregation and a church that by denominational standards should have been closed. So why, when I'm getting close to retirement, why in the world would I take a call to a church that the denomination says should be closed? Because they took a chance. And when I get up and lead on Sunday morning, 60 to 70% of the congregation is what sometimes is called those people. Those people, it's not right to call them that, by the way, are much more like us than they are not like us. And when I say us and them, I don't even like using that language. I had the privilege of serving the whole congregation, whether they're generational folks that have been there their whole life or whether they're new through Matthew's house. I've watched a congregation in the short time that I've been there grow spiritually and also stretched to see that we are more alike than we are different. And I see a number of wonderful people stepping up to help. And one of the things that, and I've worked with a hot team with Pastor George, and I've learned a lot in the 2 years that I've been at the church. Yes, there have been serious issues. A lot of those have been tampered because of a plan that's we've been working with police and social work in Grand Rapids intentionally. Also, one of the things that I am deeply committed, in fact, I'm probably down at Matthew's house about every other day. I just feel the deep need to let them know that I'm not the Sunday morning and Wednesday night guy, that I'm there to hear. And I know when George is gone and if he's out of town, I make my presence more available on location. One of the things that I find in my work with the church and with Matthew's house is to address fear. When I watched the media outlets in Grand Rapids handle this story, many of the residents talked about fear. And I might be one of those first people that would invite folks, and I'll walk with you through Matthew's house, whether it's the old location or the new location, to introduce you to staff, volunteers, and some of the folks we're helping. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is James Early. I'm a resident of the West Side. I'm also the pastor at Servants Community Church, also located on the West Side. Servants Community Church is a supporter of Matthew's House, and I'm here to speak in favor of this special use. Servants Community Church is a supporter of Matthew's House and their ministries. We also serve a number of the same clientele, and I don't just mean demographically, but the individual people. We serve a number of the same clientele at Servants as who Matthew's House serves. And what we notice as we serve the folks who come looking for social support services are that the social safety net in Grand Rapids is just insufficient to meet the needs of our community. We're frequently telling neighbors who are looking for housing resources or food resources that all of the other organizations we're connected to are tapped, that we can send them to them, but they're probably going to be getting a no, sorry, we don't have the resources that you need. This is just an issue systemic across our city. Until we solve the issue of insufficient affordable housing and its related stressors, organizations like Matthews House are needed and should be afforded whatever assistance possible to facilitate those services. Just so you know a little bit of where I come from, I'm a Jesus follower, and one of the words that Jesus speaks that I love most is he says, whenever you serve the least of these, you've served me, right? And this is the foundation of the ministry of those who follow Jesus in their day-to-day life. Or as some other communities have previously put it, how can one worship a homeless man because Jesus was himself unhoused? How can one worship a homeless man on Sunday and ignore a homeless man on Monday? Thinking of being housed or being unhoused, one of the privileges that those of us who are housed experience, that we get, that people who are unhoused do not get, is that we get to have our worst and most embarrassing moments behind closed doors. When I have a bad day and I'm going to yell about it, you know where I do that? In my house. People who don't have a house do not have space to do this. The move that Matthews House is proposing addresses many of the concerns that neighbors have raised regarding congregating and disordered activities at their current location because they simply do not have the indoor space to meet the needs of the community they're serving. And by moving into a larger space, they're accomplishing two primary things. They're both relieving the neighborhood stress that has been named by some and offering dignity to unhoused neighbors by providing greater access to indoor location. And so I implore you to lend your aid to all of the residents of Grand Rapids, housed and unhoused alike, each of whom are our neighbors, deserving of dignity and respect. I speak in favor of this change. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to be able to see everybody. My name is Carol Steele. I live on Powers, approximately 9 houses from this location, and I've been in favor of Matthews House since the minute I heard about it. But after hearing this presentation, I'm more in favor of it than I was before. And I do find one thing really ironic, which is there have been a lot of people against this program who said, it's great, but not here. And that's called Not in My Backyard, and it goes by the name of NIMBY. And if everybody wants it not in their backyard, that means we can't have it. So it has to be somewhere. And in general, once people get to know things, they're fine with it. In my life, the biggest, scariest things I've ever faced were when I thought about something ahead of time and imagined it. And then when it happened, oh, well, it's okay. It's the new reality, and I'm fine with it. So I'm in favor of Matthews House, and I strongly hope that you say yes to it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Rotowski. I'm a local business owner of a dance studio in Monroe and Leonard. I wholeheartedly support this special land use for Matthews House, where they can better provide services to our neighbors in need. As our city continues to grow and costs rise, it is our duty to support those historically and systemically left behind. It is ludicrous to expect to reduce crime by denying people access to assistance. We build safer neighborhoods by welcoming organizations like Matthews House into our communities to provide care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Annette Vandenberg. I'm an MSW. I'm also the Executive Director of the West Grand Neighborhood Organization. In addition to that, I'm a resident of the City of Grand Rapids, and I have children, grandchildren, sisters, and aunts, and cousins, and friends and family that all live in the West Grand Neighborhood. And for the last 11 years, I have done community work, whether I've been at Steepletown Neighborhood Services or at West Grand. And so a little bit of a history here. 11 years ago is when I first got to meet Pastor George at Matthews House and saw the great work that they were doing. But my master social work role, I'm like, this organization needs some overhaul, but I don't have the capacity, nor is it my place to do that at this time. I need to build a relationship with Pastor George first. And so that is what I've been trying to do for the last 11 years, is build a relationship with Matthews House, with Pastor George, and all of the other neighbors in the neighborhood. There's lots of complex concerns in the neighborhood that are just systematically, and that's why I'm doing macro social work instead of doing what I thought I was going to do, which was counseling veterans, because I'm also a veteran. And many of my veteran friends are homeless or struggling to stay in housing. And at first, when I heard that Matthews House, there was grumblings in the neighborhood that they wanted to be on the corridor, I was like, if they can't function where they're at, why should we let them up here? Finally, Pastor George came to me, and we had a very serious, tough conversation about what was going on there currently and why they wanted to move and why they needed to move. And so I began to understand a little bit more about why we needed something that would fit better, why they needed a larger footprint. I also listened to business owners who aren't members of West Grand Neighborhood Organization and some that are. Some support, some do not, and I understand their concerns. They're worried that crime or that this activity is going to decrease their property values. And doing all the research, peer-reviewed research, it's just not true. And so my job when a special land use comes to me and working with the planning department for the almost last 10 years, I've been told that I need to say yes. How can we say yes to a land use, but also protect the neighborhood and the investments that are in the neighborhood and promote future growth? And at the same time, adhering to the Articles of Incorporation as a neighborhood organization, which is to listen to all sides and help solve the problems. 30% of our neighborhood lives in poverty. That's just a fact. This isn't going away. Matthews House Operations isn't leaving the neighborhood. It's just moving to a better footprint. And the reason why West Grand asked for 90 days to table this was so that we could get more data. This has been thrown at my team and my board. We have spent over 200 man-hours on this special land use as of to date, as of right now, listening to all the concerns, the 155 letters that Mr. Moyer has sent to my staff via email, via mail, and now today via fax. And supposedly I'm not being harassed, my team's not being harassed. Thank you for your time today, but we need this.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Tyler Ledwick. I own Wanger's Bowling Alley on Leonard Street. I've wanted to operate it now for 10 years. One problem that people don't know about, it's all the late night hour stuff. I've had to kick out, I don't want to call them homeless, the folks that are in need off my property. I've had to call the police department before. They've set up shop in my parking lot. They've harassed people coming up and down the street. Syringes, I find them on my property all the time. They're making, campsites by my dumpster. I'm part of West Grand Neighborhood Organization. I actually became a community partner this year. It's more than just paying a fee for my business. I support West Grand, and I support helping the people in need, but also too, there's got to be a better spot for these guys to go to. I know whether it's an industrial, somewhere industrial that's not on a business corridor, I know it doesn't help the fact that, there's limited resources or limited spots for these guys to set up shop and help them out. But it's the after hours stuff. I know you guys need 2 days to set up and recoup and get your stuff ready to go for Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. We deal with it at all times at night. I know I speak for other bar owners and other places or other entertainment folks up and down on the street, but I have families, I have kids that come down there. I get harassed from homeless. I actually know a lot of the people that are homeless that are up and down the block all the time. And it's tough. My staff, they do what we can. They come into my building, they want us to serve them alcohol or to help them out. I will give them food and water when I can, but the problem is if I give them to them all the time or once, they come back every day. And my staff, they can only do so much too. So I am opposed to this move on Leonard Street. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim Ryan. We have a new American Pope since you've been in this meeting. I am really torn by what Matthews House should do. I believe they do wonderful work. I've spent the last 25 years of my life working in Haiti with the poorest of the poor, so I know exactly what Pastor George and his friends and volunteers do. And I believe they're going to clean up their act, because now that the attention has been brought to them through this process, if their act needs to be cleaned up with all these police calls, then it's going to happen where they're currently at if you don't approve this. But where I'm torn, I've lived in Richmond Park for 30 years. I saw Leonard Avenue when businesses weren't there. Is DeVries and Brands and the Shade Shop, they were pretty much the only businesses. And now you look and it's doing what everybody wants it to do. The city plan, the master plan, this is what everybody was hoping it would do. And here we are 30 years later, and we're talking about the stigma of the homeless people, and that's all that's going to affect the businesses. It's not going to be the homeless people that come to Pastor George's facility. It's that if you put a restaurant where the Burger King currently is vacant, the owner has to ask themselves, they have to, are people going to come to my business? Are people, when I go out to dinner once in a while, we usually drive to where we go. And that's what people do. You go to the South Side Social, people drive to it. If you take away that opportunity in the West Grand neighborhood area, then you've halted the progress that we've watched for 30 years. We've seen our neighborhood, when we bought our house on Ariana, as we walked around and we were like, well, those streets going towards Leonard, and they were a little sketchy. Now they're not. Everything is blooming like it's supposed to. So if you do give them this, they have to be held very accountable for the rest of the time they're there. Or the businesses, the neighborhoods will suffer. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jamie. I just feel like I had to speak my voice today. So I actually own a bar, Kitty Corner, from the new location. I was a bartender there for 20 years, and I just took over ownership 2 years ago when we lost the previous owner. So I have been around for a while in the same location. That's the only first and last bartending job I'll ever have. I love doing community work. I've done a lot of benefits for people that have had breast cancer or struggling or lost their job or had surgeries. I've done baby showers, I've done wakes for after funeral services of people that can't afford a service, or they were just a longtime customer of mine and they're in there 7 days a week, right? We have a lot of regulars. So we get foot traffic right now. My biggest concern that I would like to address is when Matthew's House closes at 4 or 4:30 and people disperse in the streets. I mean, right now he said that they're getting 80 to 100 people a day. Well, with triple the square footage, you're going to get triple the people. So 300 people are just going to disperse up and down Leonard Street. I'm already having issues. It's a daily struggle for me to clean up my property. I found suitcases behind my shed and behind my building that I have to throw away of stolen goods. It's brand new stuff that ultimately ends up in my dumpster after I go there every day. And they have bikes. They're just I've had people come into my patio when I was closed down on Christmas Day and defecate on my patio, and I had wrappers and trash out there. I thought it was just not cleaned up from Christmas Eve, but then I watched my video footage to find out that someone was literally on my patio for an hour and a half. Just, I'm all about Matthew's House. I just don't think that this is the perfect location for them. A lot of, and the pastor addressed this, a lot of these people, they try and save them. They have addiction, which, I feel horrible for. I mean, I've known a lot of people throughout the 20 years I've been there. But Leonard Street is a lot of bars and pot shops that are all within walking distance. I don't know how many is up and down Leonard Street, at least probably 8 that I can count of in either direction. I have employees that leave there at 3:30 in the morning. And where are these people sleeping? Are they behind my shed where I don't have cameras? I have cameras everywhere, right? I can see Matthew's house from my building. But what are cameras going to do when my employees walk out and they don't feel safe? Am I going to have to pay for extra security? Am I going to have to pay somebody to come put security in my parking lot 7 days a week when we're open from noon until 2 a.m.? It's scary to me. And I train my employees as much as I can to watch their surroundings, to make sure that they're aware of what's going on around them, but I can only do so much. My hands are tied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shane Higgins. I live on Powers. I'm 3 houses from 1050 Leonard. I think the lack of overnight support for the unhoused people that Matthews House serves just means that they have nowhere to go outside of operating hours. Like others have said, you walk by the current location, there's needles on the ground, extra trash, constant loitering. I've walked through the neighborhood. You get harassed by people standing around Matthews House when they're closed. There are dozens of families in the neighborhood, and there are dozens of young children who play outside on the sidewalks and lawns of all the homes on Powers, and I assume the other streets of the neighborhood. The mission of Matthews House is admirable, but it doesn't seem like Matthews House has the capacity to stop these things from happening. Like the man who owns the bowling alley said, the lack of after-hour support is the real issue, and just concerned about the families and kids who have to deal with people they don't know, and dirty needles on the ground. So if that could be reasonably addressed, maybe I could be in favor of it, but I am going to speak against it because I don't think Matthews House has the capacity to handle that. So, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay.
Hi, I'm Melinda. I'm very emotional. I'm emotional right now because I have benefited from the Matthews House. Pastor George. I moved from Chicago. I have 3 teenage boys. And I was aiming to get them away from trouble. And I have enjoyed living on Pine Avenue in Leonard. It's been very peaceful. It's been very quiet. But as a single mother, I've always needed the Matthews House. And so I drive down and I get clothes. When I can't afford them, I get food. So it's so hard right now trying to figure out what to do, so I could only pray. I appreciate Pastor George. I appreciate his congregation. I visit. I appreciate what he has done with my family. I've had family that were addicted, and he has been there for them. But my concern is the same thing as far as after hours. Recently, right across the hall from me, a group of homeless people broke in, and they were in my building, and they were, had the shopping cart and garbage. I didn't even know they were there. I just didn't know where all this stuff came from. And I was concerned about my children. And I asked the young people, what are you doing here? You don't live here. But they needed a place to stay. My heart goes out for them. They were not able to stay there. I believe in helping homeless people, and I want to. I, too, support what Pastor George is doing because I know he needs a greater place as far as, the space, the ministry, everything he does is wonderful. That NIMBY thing, only thing that bothers me with that is that I want you all, Pastor George included, to not just come in certain neighborhoods and say it's okay to build these places, and help people. I want you to do it in your own neighborhoods too, because it's needed everywhere. It's not just needed in our neighborhood. I love homeless people, and I support this. I support Pastor George, but I want you all to consider, it's okay, we're going to just help people in certain neighborhoods. Let's help people everywhere. So I do support this, and I do thank them for what they do, and I'm very, very concerned. So like the person that spoke ahead of me, I'm sorry, I didn't see the
Thank you.
zeros. But like the person who spoke ahead of me, please be accountable and let's together figure out how we can work this after hours problem out.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heath. I'm 32 years old, grew up in Grand Rapids, been here pretty much my whole life. I think I can speak from experience just using support services growing up and my lived experience of relying on the church, safe homes or places to stay because of instability in the home and such and your environment. I actually grew up in the Black Hills, like Godfrey and those streets. 7 kids, so big family, right? 2 adults, and so 9 people in a 3-bedroom house. Mold in the basement, water damage, like just poverty, just like all the struggles with it. And we needed all the help we could get, right? The best thing that happened, like through that lived experience, was opportunities. So, and that was largely economic stuff. And so my lived experience, though, relying, through childhood, young adulthood on services, is that I can't be for this move to Leonard for Matthew's house. I think that spot needs to be a thriving economic opportunity for the master plan, right? For Leonard, for the west side. I don't think Matthew's house is going to help that mission. So I'm not for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I got a cortisone shot in my knee, so it's kind of reacting up. I'm Sharon Maddie. We live on the west side. We bought our house. Don't worry about it. We bought our house in, it took us 9 years to buy a house. They used to have on the TV the houseless generation, and I'd cry. We got married in December of 1980. I was doing my student teaching, and this is my neighborhood. We live a 5-minute walk from where the new location would be. We live second house on the corner. There's the corner house and then us. We're at 1057 Ariana. And if you look at my life, I should have married somebody who probably would beat me up. I should have stayed out of my mind. My parents were both mentally ill, seriously mentally ill. My dad has paranoid schizophrenia. My mother, we did not realize, she thought she was fine and was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. If I told you about what my childhood was like, we'd be here for 2 hours. I guess why I'm saying this is I have 2 college degrees. I taught elementary school for Grand Rapids for more than 20 years, and I really loved it. I felt like it was a calling. I still have contact with some of my students on Facebook. I'm retired, been retired for 7 years. I guess what I'm saying is, you don't know who you might be helping. I should not be where I am. The statistics are not good. My brother, he ended up kicking alcoholism, large in part because of the Army. And then this is too funny. When his drinking scared him, he started going to Al-Anon. I didn't say one word. I thought, you'll still get help. And then later he went to AA. He has been in recovery for 20 years in January. So that's the best present he ever gave me in my life. My sister lives in chronic pain. She got a lot of physical strange problems, like 1 in 1 million people have this. She has 3 of those. But anyway, you don't know who you might be helping. Not everybody is going to be successful. There's a lot that the person needs to do. on their own as far as, you can go to AA, but if you're not going to do what it is encouraging you to do, it's going to take you a lot longer or maybe never to quit drinking. I guess that's what I'm saying. I feel like Matthew's House is helping so many people. It would violate their privacy, but I could give you a long list of names of people whose lives have been totally changed. And I guess what I'm saying is, we were on food stamps. Food stamps are an investment in a person's health and their life. That was when my dad was not able to work anymore. I was in 7th grade. And
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
I just remember feeling ashamed, but I'm healthy because of food stamps. So I'm very much in support
Thank you.
of the new Matthew's House. Sorry.
Anyone else on this case? Okay. All right, I will close the public hearing. Thanks, everyone. Okay, Pastor George, would you like to address any of the comments that were made at this moment? No. Okay. Do any of our commissioners have questions or comments right now? Okay. So as we said before, our city planning staff, Pastor George, and the West Grand Neighborhood Organization all agree that Planning Commission should table deliberation and decision on this case for around 90 days. And then at that point, the Planning Department will renotice the case and for Matthew's House to establish a day center at 1050 Leonard. So I guess at this time, I would.
Can I offer a comment or a question before we act on this? I think that for me, and I appreciate everybody coming out. I think this is a community time to talk about such things and sort things out. For me, I think we've received data on crimes and things like that. And some of them are attributed maybe to Matthew's House, some are just the neighborhood, so we don't know which. I'd like a little more information. They've talked about having security, and when we do reconvene on this, I agree to more information is needed about how we manage those things, manage that kind of activity. And I think there's been talk about the addition of this and that, security people, just management of it. I'd like to know a little bit more detail about how that might be, how they're working with the police department, what kind of programs the police department has. I'm very glad to hear that they have a social worker to help out with that. But so that's some of the information that I hope when we do take this up, this very important issue up, that we have some more information on.
Great, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Just piggyback up on that. I just thought of this because it's almost 3 o'clock and Lawrence can't survive without his 3 o'clock coffee and snack.
Are you asking me?
No, but I thought as to the mission of this place. I've been to church all of my life. I'm a church boy. I'm proud about it now. People used to call me that and make fun of me when I was little, but I'm very proud about the fact that I am a church boy. And I went to a majority black church, so we had to be in there all day. And it was hard, obviously, because when you're at church in the afternoon, the pastor's just going on, and you're so hungry. I can't barely listen to anything he's saying because I'm so hungry. And I grew up in poverty, so most times we didn't eat before we got to church. So I'm so hungry. And I remember sitting in church, a lot of times it's hard to hear what the pastor is saying because I'm so hungry. And that's what we think about, or what we should think about with Jesus. He's feeding the 5,000. They're hungry. Jesus is talking on and on and on and on and on. And Jesus goes to meet their very need. It's very hard to give people Jesus without meeting their needs. And so I appreciate the work that they're doing, because it's very hard for people to listen to you talk about Jesus and not give them something to eat, not give them a place to stay, not care about the community that they're in. The other thing, though, that we learned at church is that it's not only important what you do, and that is being the hands and feet of Jesus, but it's important how you do it. How you do it is equally as important as what you do. And you don't get to do good in a bad way, my grandmother used to say. You don't get to do good in a bad way. And so to piggyback on those comments, this is good. We know that. We understand that. I wish it didn't have to exist, because I wish that nobody suffered from poverty. I wish that nobody went without a house. I wish that nobody went without a plate of food. But it exists because there's a need. And being that there is a need, it's important that we do this right, that we have plans that are transparent, that are well thought out, that we have a community of people that support each other and can implement it effectively. We got to do it in decency and in order. It's not good to do good the wrong way. And so, I'm in support of this plan fully. And I'm also in support of tabling it for 90 days or however long that we got to table it, so we can figure it out and we can do it right. Because if and when we do it right, that's where we make the change. That's where we are really being the hands and feet of Jesus, where we're saying we can be good and do good. But we can't have it our way. We can't try to be good and then do it the wrong way. So I don't want to preach, but that's my speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead.
I just have one thing that I want to clarify, and it's probably because I wasn't paying attention and I missed something. But I saw where West Grand wanted the 90 days. I know the city's interested in it. I didn't see where the applicant had signed up for it, so I just want to verify that there's not like building options or other things that we're just blanketly up here saying it's going to be 90 days and we're not just ruining everything.
We're in favor of it.
Okay.
We are very much in favor of that. If it's what the 90 days, we'll work with that. Yes, very much so.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one aspect of the 90 days, we're planning on sprinklering the building, so we'll want to tap in while Leonard's under construction. So we'd like to work with city engineering on getting a water line in.
Okay.
Is there any additional information that the commission would like to see as part of the Good Neighbor Plan that the planning department can help assist and provide? We want to make sure we have all your guys' input and we're able to address that, to bring that back to the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the other commissioners have said, and just filling in those gaps of the that we're missing in the application would be helpful. The traffic management and operations, and obviously incorporating all this great feedback that we've received into ensuring the operations are consistent with that. I'm sorry, Commissioner Schwem, did you have something else?
I just, people spoke about homeless issues on Leonard that exists there without Matthew's house, and I wonder, I don't know how you prove this, or if there are studies that show that these can help with those issues that are already there. Just, I don't know, a thought, but I don't know how you document that or prove that. I mean, homelessness is a complex issue. I worked in an agency that served homeless families, and it has to do with addiction, but it also has to do with the cost of housing. And so there's a lot of factors that get into that, and I think sometimes we don't understand it as well as we need to.
Okay, thanks, everybody. With that, do we have a motion to table to allow for these continued discussions and development of the operations plans and the implementation of the Good Neighbor Plan?
So moved.
Do we need to pick a meeting date? Sometimes we do that, sometimes we don't.
I think if we do it open, that would provide the most flexibility for,
We'll renotice the public hearing. Notification will go out. We'll make sure to post the site as well, so the general public is aware of the next and upcoming meeting.
I think that's an important part of this. Many people took a lot of time out to come in today to know that they've been heard and that they'd have another opportunity, but we have heard what they say. We just want to build on that. I don't want to think that them to think that their time was wasted.
No.
Or not received.
That's a great point. And to piggyback off that, the hundreds of letters that we received will also continue forward into the next, as part of the package of the next hearing as well. So we'll be reviewing those letters again in addition to any other written correspondence we receive. Okay, so I heard a motion. Did I have support?
Support.
All right, motion and support. Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to come and provide your voices for this case. We'll give it a minute. Maybe we'll take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5? How much do you need for your snack? All right, 5 minutes. Come back together. Let's come back together here. I'm missing Elizabeth. Okay. Almost here. Okay. Okay, we are going to move forward with the rest of our agenda. Could it be put up on the screen? So, and I apologize sincerely. I meant at the beginning of this to say that the rest of the cases, we have requests to postpone them to future meetings. And so I do apologize if you were waiting to speak on those and now they're not going to be happening. So I'm so sorry.
But couldn't
I mean, we could do a public hearing regardless.
we have to do it here?
If anyone's here, I did speak to this resident, and I think she wanted to find out more information, and I think everything she wants to find out, staff can provide.
Okay.
And if, and we did give her the option to stay for a public hearing.
You did,
or-
okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so 221 Trowbridge Street Northeast, we have a request to table to the May 22nd meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have motion and support. Support was Commissioner Shannon. All right, all those in favor say aye. Oh, any discussion? Motion was Commissioner Swem. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then the 411 Fuller Avenue Southeast, the request to approve or to, a request for rezoning a portion of that. Request to table till the June 12th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have motion and support. All those, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then finally, 411 and 417 Fuller Avenue Southeast for parking waiver. A request to table again to the June 12th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and support, either commissioner here. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thanks, everybody. Planning Commission discussion, any discussion? No? Yes?
It can't pertain to what we already closed on, right?
We haven't made a decision on that case. I mean, go
I
ahead.
think it probably just depends on what case and what you wanted to discuss.
The Matthews House stuff, the volume of police information, the Exhibit A that we were handed at the meeting doesn't seem to jive with what the West Grand neighborhood provided us in terms of numbers. They're vastly different. And so I guess I would just like to see some clarification on why, because one is for a neighborhood, not a specific location, and the numbers are really small, and the other seems to be specific to Matthews House, and it's really big. So I'd like some clarification on why that is.
Yeah, we will look into that and provide that information to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great. Okay, any other discussion? All right, at this time, I will open it up for general public comment. If you're here from the public and would like to speak, feel free to come up to the mic. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Anything else for the good of the order here? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.